this video, we're going to be going over label printing from ThunderPOS.net, where you can print labels, what you need to do to get it set up, um, and kind of how to get going with it. So if we take a look at our site here, so label printing does not directly communicate with your printer in ThunderPOS.net. Instead, it is going to go through your print dialog into a driver in Windows or in your tablet or in whatever device you're using. So there's no setting where you have to select that label printer, but you do have to select the label design you want to use. You do that by going through maintenance and then settings, and then all of the relevant settings are under labels. So the prefix option for item labels will place a prefix in front of the label barcode. So like, let's say the barcode is just 1, for example. Typically it wouldn't be. For our current settings here, it would print N1 and U1. And then when you scan it, the barcode would recognize whether it was new or used. Label new price description and used price description for certain designs that will reflect on the design. There are designs that don't have a description for the price, in which case that won't show. Print labels for trades, that is not used if you're using the back office exclusively, but if you're using Windows or the iPad, then it can automatically be made to print barcode out on trade-in finishing up. Label style, so you can select between many different label designs. They're going to depend on what you're wanting your printer to be. You can also, if you have made a custom label through the Windows, you can go through customized and then you can select a custom label design here. So in that way you can use the same design you use in Windows, but otherwise you would need to just use one of the styles there, and then you can select a font for the label. You can also select your default quantities. When you're doing trades, you can select that you always print price 1, even if it was traded at a lower condition. For certain designs, mostly the 4x2.5, there are notes fields that appear on all labels. You can set the dots per inch of your label. You can adjust your label so that its position is a little bit different. And then if you go in the top right here, you can also, if you're using that 4x2.5 logo or label, then you can also put a logo on it. For the moment, I'm going to set this to 2.3 inch by 1 inch. So then if we go to our items, like the most straightforward printing of labels, if you go through the menu here and then hit print labels, that's going to print every item on your current search, which is a little much for the moment, but you can also just print a label for a single item, for example, by going through actions here and then hit print label, and then you select what price you're going to print it for and the quantity, and you hit print. And then when you're printing, so I don't actually have a label printer hooked up, but when you're printing, you will select your printer driver. I do have a thing, but my paper size is wrong. And then you're going to want to make sure that you set it to margins none, because if you put margins on, then obviously the typical label paper is going to be very small, and on that paper you're going to end up, if you do 1/2 inch margin, that's going to have no room on the label, or it's going to end up shrinking or distorting. So you're going to want to make sure you set your margins to none. The exact details of how this is going to look is going to depend a little bit on what device you're using, but that's the big thing to make sure you set is, margins none. You may need to play with the scale and everything to fit it to the printable area or something like that. They don't have the, it doesn't look like they've got the 1 inch. So the printer driver I'm using here does not have the label size that I would use. That's a shipping label, but yours will reflect your paper's size that you actually have. So you can try the different designs this way, and you'll want to make sure that you get it working. I would experiment with a single label first, make sure you like the design and everything, and then you can move on to the bulk printing that we're about to go through. So the options you have that can involve bulk printing, like I mentioned, if you go through print labels here, that'll print what's on your current search. So for example, if we search for Madden and then hit search and then go to print labels and then we say one each new, just as an example, it's going to give us multiple pages. It'll do 50 at a time, basically. So, and then you can go through each of these pages. And when it looks like they're close together here, it will actually print them each on a separate page when you go to print. So if we go to print, I believe even on the preview, they'll be on separate pages. Similar other methods of printing large transactions through the register. You can go through the actions menu and print the last trade-in. Now it looks like I only have one item on that last trade-in, but you could have many items, in which case it would print many labels. You can also, on a purchase order, if you have a purchase order, you can go through the menu up here and do labels for the purchase order. And it's going to show your labels there, both new and used, based on your order there. As you saw, I got to pick the condition. So there's a multitude of ways to bulk print your labels for items. Just like there are in Windows, these kind of cover the label utility use cases. And then the last one is through the label utility here in items. And you can print queued up labels, which happen if you're doing BRE or video game price charts databases, or you can print one-off miscellaneous labels where you just kind of fill in some information and it will print a label for it. And you can also print items where the price has changed since a certain date. So that's a search that normally is not available through items. So that's a way you can print, recent changed items. So that's all item labels. You can also, and then also miscellaneous labels. You can also print labels for customers. It is an option whether or not the barcode appears on these labels, which right now we have on. But if you turn it off, then they can be suitable for mailing labels. You typically would not want to mail it with a barcode on it. So normally you would take the barcode off when mailing it, in which case it will just be a perfectly fine shipping label. But if you want to use the barcode, you can use it for like doing a customer barcode scannable card that you can use at the register to select the customer, for example. Similar to items, you can do a bulk search or do a search and then bulk print labels through the hamburger menu here and then print labels. And again, that actually can be quite useful if you're using it without barcodes, which you can again choose in the settings menu, because then you can get a bunch, do a mailing to your customers and send them a physical piece of mail with relative ease. If you have any questions on this, or if you're wanting to purchase labels or printers from us, just reach out to sales or to support. The designs in the back office, other than the customizable ones, are a little bit different than the ones in Windows. So typically people would choose to print from one or the other. So, it's just kind of on which one you like better. But you can try both, certainly, and see which you like.